Welcome everybody to the Profit Like It's Hot summer webinar series. We have two more, we have two more after this to go. I think this has been a great series. It's always helpful when Lisa hops on and gives us some of her great takes. She's had great guests on as well. Today, my guests are GoMangoMeds. And I am so thrilled that Miss Diane hunted me down last year at NCPA and said, you have to listen to me, in her very nice, but get shit done kind of way, which we totally appreciate around here. And she's just been a joy to work with. Her program is super cool. Before we hop in, I just want to say, if you have not bought your tickets, buy them for the summit before the price goes up. I was just mentioning, if you just hopped on, I was just mentioning I was at a conference with all kinds of fabulous direct to manufacturer vendors. We are going to have so many amazing returning, like GoMango, and new vendors for you all to check out. It's going to be ginormous. So get your tickets scanned, get your tickets now before they go up. So I would like to introduce Miss Diane. Diane, I will let you say your last name and introduce yourself so I do not butcher it.
You're great. Yeah, I'm sure you'll do fine. My name is Diana Baumohl. And I am one of the principals that leads GoMangoMeds. We're excited to be part of this. Thank you for the invitation. And then so just by way of background, it's a big number. I just counted right before I got on here, but I've been in industry for over 40 years.
Wow.
And really from multiple different angles. I've worked in and for major cash programs in the PBM industry. I helped found a specialty claims processing business, actually that focused on compounding. And I've also had the privilege of being part owner of a small chain of retail stores. So I really feel like I've circled the entire industry. And in talking with the person who is our co-founder, when we started brainstorming about, what we were going to do next, we felt really strongly about the opportunity to try to help retailers in cash. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in this presentation, why we feel strongly and what we think that opportunity is.
That's awesome. And Doug, will you introduce yourself and tell us your awesome part at GoMango?
Of course. My name is Doug Rademaker, and I am based in St. Louis. And I am an independent pharmacy store owner and spent 90% of my professional career as an independent pharmacist. Recently sold the store about a year and a half ago, and joined GoMango. But I'm still working in a couple of independents a couple days a week, 2, 3, 4 days a week, just to keep my foot in that game. But very excited to be part of this GoMango team.
Very cool.
You'll hear that as we go through what we're going to talk about today.
Very cool. Well, as we get started, friends, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to pop them in the chat. One of our hosts, I will see it, Mike will see it, and we will get you the answers. That's why we're here. I was just telling Doug that I like to be your mouthpiece. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them here. So Diane, tell us exactly what GoMango is.
So GoMango is it is a solution to optimize your cash pricing. So retail pharmacies have anywhere, in our experience in talking with pharmacies, and we've talked to hundreds and hundreds of retailers, anywhere from 5 to 25% of their book of business being in the cash category. And what what we hope to do is to be a full replacement solution for pharmacies, to say, this is the way that we price our cash. And instead of what's actually happening in the marketplace, and we can talk a little bit more about that if you think it's helpful to talk through some of the history about why we are where we are. But where we are today is that you've got, the market is largely dominated by two very large players, GoodRx and Single Care, and then hundreds and hundreds of other programs. So there's an enormous amount of confusion. And quite frankly, do you think it'd be helpful to go through the history a little bit?
I think everybody knows the history. I think what would be more interesting to our folks, and we have a lot of very, very, very seasoned pharmacists on the call today. Right. I think if you could go into how you're different from all of those options, okay, I think that would be the most helpful. And then we'll dive right into what happens when you join.
Yeah. Okay. Then if you're okay, I'm gonna maybe share some of our slides.
Yes, ma'am.
As she's getting that going, I just want to say, in a world where, we're kind of held down by a lot of PBM work and things that we can't control, your cash is one spot where we actually can control still. And so we need to be sure to optimize, that part of our business.
Yeah, I think that's a place where people still feel very leery, is they've been so used to being out of control or not being able to control that portion, that when someone says we can, you can reclaim that, it feels too good to be true. And I think that's where we start to get, in the absence of knowledge, we create own stories in our head. So it must not be true, because from our experience and our patterns, this is how hard pharmacy has been.
And I think you're right that we've also been taught as independent pharmacists that we need to price low to keep our patients happy and keep coming back. And it was a whole mindset to me to allow myself to charge a little more and charge what we're worth. We bring a really good service to our patients and a really good product. And they agree also that we deserve to be paid for that product.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Diana.
No, you're good. That's very helpful. So are you guys seeing my slides?
Oh, yep. You're good to go.
Yeah. So yeah, we think that I don't want to read this to your audience, but we believe that we come in really with a very fresh angle. And we are a solution. So exactly to your point, Heather, we recognize that, what history has set pharmacies up for, because it's really been a long history. It's, really been sort of the slow boil of the frog, right? You've had basically, commercial reimbursements really under pressure and declining over the last few decades, right?
Right.
And so this belief that your cash, what used to be just something that you could take for granted, would produce extra profits on the side, are no longer that. We really feel strongly, and that's the reason for GoMango to exist, is that there needed to be a better solution in the marketplace that was really reliable for pharmacies to turn to and trustworthy, and to know that we didn't have an ulterior motive. We're not working for somebody else. How do I get this to, sorry, learning that. I don't normally use this mode, so bear with me. So the way that, I shared with you, we typically see, cash making up 10 to 15%, but it can go as low as 5, it can go as high as 25, even 5 though, if you're not profitable, if it's dragging your pharmacy down, is a problem. But what's really interesting, and this is, from real hard data analysis, is that we have had the privilege of being able to analyze the data files from hundreds and hundreds of pharmacies, is that independent pharmacies are losing money on nearly half of their cash RXs. And it's interesting. I do remember the first time that we met, and I met Mike. I think I found him first. And we started talking, and it was really refreshing because, you know, we talked and I shared some of these facts, and you guys weren't surprised. But, you know, we talked to a lot of pharmacies, and these are clearly very talented, experienced, often multi-generational operators. They're smart business people. So we don't come at this at all thinking that they're not capable. But we've had conversations, and then we get the data file, we analyze it, and we show it to them. And sure enough, that's what the data bears out, and they'll be surprised. And it's probably more a function of time and attention than anything else, right? If you haven't had the time to really dig into it and to spend the time thinking about it, and you're fighting commercial reimbursements, and you're dealing with, you know, your controls and your staffing and all of the myriad of things that you have to deal with, then it hasn't gotten the attention. And then, you know, to double down on that, we do think that independent pharmacies are pricing too low on as high as 65% of their prescriptions.
Wow. That's an incredible number.
Yeah. And so, yeah, this is why we think, you know, while it feels like the cash game is so saturated, right? Why would you you know, other professionals I talk to in the marketplace, I mean, you know, initially when I said, this is the business I think we're going to start, they were like, that's a business you want to start? Why do you want to start that business? This game is completely saturated, but it's not done well, not for retail. And the other angle here is, you know, that we say, you know, say no to the PBM pricing games, because the thing to appreciate is that, yeah, there's GoodRx and Single Care. They probably collectively have more than 50% of the market. And then there are hundreds and hundreds. I could not even begin to catalog all of them. I was able to get to a number as high as 200 programs, discrete programs. But what all retail pharmacies need to realize, if you didn't already know this, is that what sits behind the majority of those are PBMs and PBM engines. And so on the one level, that's immediately concerning, right? Because you might say, well, okay, so they see my data. Yeah, that's not great, right? But the more important point that I want every pharmacy, you know, who's listening to this to appreciate is that means that those engines, those pricing engines, and the logic that sits behind them is not optimized for you. It is optimized for the PBM, and it's optimized for the PBM and their clients. So it makes sense, right? It's not actually but that's what's happened. So what if you go back in the last, you know, just the 20 years, you know, not to do too much history, but I don't know if people realize, it's really probably the last 10. What happened was that there was an awareness, and it might have been actually somewhat spurred by GoodRx and their ascent in the marketplace, a recognition that there was a profit opportunity for businesses that would actually set up cash discount programs. But what did they do? So the least expensive, fastest path to market was to leverage existing adjudicators, which are PBMs, and who have fixed cost infrastructures that they're already leveraging and covering with their commercial marketplace, with their commercial business, and take those engines, lease those engines, and then add a marketing component to it and put a program forward. So if you actually peel behind what is behind the hundreds and hundreds of programs that are out in the marketplace causing a lot of confusion, they're really the same PBM engines. There probably are in total less than 20 of them, but they present as hundreds and hundreds. And so we're trying to expose this to a degree and say, look, I mean, we would never argue, if you have a solution that's working for you and it's producing good results, you should stick with it. But if you're not happy or you've not really spent the time and invested the time to actually understand what you could be gaining from it, you should really understand it. And the data, you know, really, we have the privilege of in our collective more than 100 years of experience in our team, we feel very confident in the data analysis that we have been able to either see or produce ourselves, that the discount cards that are in the market do not drive meaningful store traffic. Right. And that's something that's really important, because I think that there's also a little bit of a fear. Well, if somebody walks in with this, I need to try to honor it. That's definitely, we need to be, obviously stores need to be respectful and have, dialogue with their patients, but it's really an opportunity to take back control of how they price their cash. The bottom line is that, and this is, really gets at the heart of why did we create GoMango? The traditional PBM cash programs are not sustainable. They are a burst of energy that's come to the market that, quite frankly, has created an enormous amount of confusion. And the other thing I think to appreciate behind these cards is they also present in a way to say that because we've acquired the patient for you, we actually own that patient. And so for that favor that we've done you, we want to command a pretty high admin fee. The admin fees we see are anywhere from $2 to, I think the worst number in recent history I've heard is 15. And so, but that's really sort of, the thing that, if pharmacies, I think you have because of the work that you guys have done, you have a very smart group of pharmacies, but if they don't appreciate it, what's happening is that the pricing engine, the adjudication and any analytics is a small portion of the fee that they're paying, right? A smaller portion of the fee that they're paying. The majority of everything else, so let's say everything north of $2 is going towards marketing. And so and therefore the discount card programs that are in the market are saying, we've done the marketing work to bring this patient to your door. And so as a reward for that, you should pay us this admin fee.
They feel very entitled to it.
Right. But a key aspect of what Mango is providing is we don't own your patient. We're not in between you and the patient. We work for the store to help you produce a rational price that sits within the whole process of adjudication. So it still works within your workflow. It's not disruptive. It also then allows your data to be managed coherently. What else am I missing, Doug?
Well, another way that separates us is we're direct to the retailer. So in most normal cash programs, all of the customers have a card that they carry, and they'll bring in 5 or 6 different cards and say which is the best one for me. The way we come at it is that we want to be on the retailer side. So it's very simple to set up. So all of your patients will have the same BIN, PCN, ID, and group. Patients don't carry a card. It's set up on the retailer side that way.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that, a byproduct, one of the bullet point that's on the bottom here, declining margins, one of the byproducts of the hundreds and hundreds of programs that are in the market that are competing with each other is that you effectively you have declining margins being driven to stores, right? Because what's happening now is they're no longer just, a program that's come into the market that purports to actually help consumers find a better price and bring patients to retailers. What they're doing is they're competing head to head with each other. So how do I get you to use my card versus somebody else's, right?
Right.
I don't know if I can, let me just, how do I click out of order? Do I need
probably
to
just have to
sharing?
go over one?
Is that okay if all right.
Yeah, sure.
Just bear with me. Sorry, everybody. Oops. Don't want that. Now this is something that I just grabbed at the last minute because I thought that it might be, but just to kind of strengthen this point is you can go out and, right, as I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of these, but think about it. So why is this, and this is just random, right? It's a atorvastatin 20 milligram 90-day. Why is it presenting to any consumer that goes out to look for this very common drug? That the cost of this drug is very well known, right? And I can tell you at $7.95, pharmacy is losing money. right? On a 90-day script, right?
Right.
So for $7.95, this store needs to dispense this drug, pay this admin fee. I mean, yeah, I know, Heather, you're going to say, yeah, my stores know this, so I don't even have to, right? But
No, no,
go
it's
through
a
your
good
mind, right? What
exercise.
are you doing? You're paying the admin fee, you're paying for the acquisition cost, you're paying the inventory of the drug, you're paying your staff to dispense the drug, you're paying to put the label on the drug. I mean, at $7.95, you're underwater, Doug, by what?
Oh, a lot.
Easily,
Your cost of fill is much more than that. So
easily $13, right?
yeah,
Probably.
but
So yeah, I'll go back to so GoMango is about a cash pricing solution that's putting the power of this relationship with the patient back into the hands of the retailer with confidence. So what we want to try to do for pharmacies and for pharmacists is to empower you to feel confident about the price and the program that you're offering. It's not that you're the cheapest. That's actually not what we're going for. But by the way, the cheapest is not sustainable. $7.95, as I showed you, right? That doesn't work. So this is really about helping your stores, the stores that we're able to serve, with the patient relationship and streamlining the way that they interact, simplifying the conversation, and improving your cash margins. One of the great quotes we got from one of the stores we talked to was this multi-store owner. He said, if you took a random poll of my staff and you asked them what percentage of our business is cash, they would tell you it's 25 to 30%. And I said, oh, so what is it really? He said, it's 8%.
Wow.
And the reason for that difference in the perception is because of the negotiating and the back and forth and the, coming in with multiple cards. Well, I can't really honor that. I have to do this price. What we want to do is we want to stop that. We want to, again, saying it again, I just don't think we can say it enough, is re-empower pharmacies to take back control of the cash. And so what was true 30 years ago, 40 years ago in the retail pharmacy setting, right, was the pharmacies were price setters. And what happened over a slow period of time, honestly, using the boil the frog analogy, is that, the commercial marketplace took control and they've lost confidence. So Mango can't fix the pharmacy's commercial contracts. But what we can do is we can give you a cash program that you should feel good about and that you can feel confident. It sets prices at a level that is fair to both you and your patient, because the goal is really supporting the long-term relationship between the pharmacy and the patient. And by the way, and we've had the privilege again of looking at some of the data, the relationships that, especially, the types of independents that are your clients, Heather, they've got incredible relationships in the community.
Right.
And so it's really important to have a price setting tool that is fair, right? Because the first way that you alienate one of your client patients, your customer patients, is by creating any level of distrust that you might be either overcharging or undercharging. I mean, overcharging them, right? But also, undercharging doesn't work either, right? Because it's not sustainable. You won't be there long term.
Right. I just wrote down, the patient relationship, because if we're confused by it as pharmacists and pharmacy owners, then your poor patients, as a patient, I am super confused about it. And it becomes really hard to go in when your patients don't know what to expect. That's when everybody flies off the handle and has an attitude and is crazy about it. And it's simply because there's just no clear understanding. There's no, I'm going to pick up this med and it's going to be this much, when it's not in control of the pharmacist's hands. They're not controlling it.
Right. That's one thing we believe in is, rational and stable and consistent pricing. So, we've talked to a lot of stores that, their prices will vary depending on who's working that day. and your patient doesn't want that. They want that consistency as well,
Right.
on top of being a fair price.
Right.
Yeah, in the sales world, we say there's no sales where confusion lives, and that's absolutely true.
So
And
yeah, Doug just emphasized that point. We're all about stable and fair. And it's really interesting because also, a lot of the pharmacies we talk to, they'll say, I'm setting the price myself, so I'm not using another program. And what's interesting about the business, our business, the Mango business is, I feel like years ago I heard the CEO or the president of Netflix say that his biggest competition was sleep. And I think, that our biggest competition is actually not other programs, because I think for the most part, independents are quite awake as to what is happening. And they, for the most part, don't use outside programs. They certainly don't, we're quite aware they don't take GoodRx. They don't take single care. At least we haven't met a single independent that does. But a lot of them do believe that they can price on their own. And what our data analysis has revealed is actually that's probably not true. We haven't found a store that does it well on their own.
what are the dangers of that? Is that they're just pricing themselves too low? That their mindset becomes race to the bottom?
It's a mix of A, not being consistent, B, either being too low or too high, because neither one of those, are sustainable. If you're too low, we know what happens there. You can't stay in business. If you're too high, your patients are going to shop you and visit other stores to see, if they can get a better rate. We know that those relationships a lot of time will, let people stay, but there's a sweet spot, to keep those prices in, where if you jump it up too much or keep it too high, they're going to jump ship and go to another location.
That's fantastic. So how do you get that sweet spot, Doug? How does GoMango accomplish that for us?
We have an amazing individual on the team that has worked in the industry for quite a long time and has done pricing, the majority of his career. And just through research and history, knows where that sweet spot is.
And we use cost-based pricing. We do ingest NADAC, but we also very carefully monitor what's happening. So that's something that you're actually not going to see. And we'll talk about that a little bit, about what's unique about our program. But, our level of customization and, I know the big buzzword is artificial intelligence. I'm sure I would get a lot of brownie points if I said, but we don't fundamentally believe that where pharmacy is today is ready for artificial intelligence. So we still use human intelligence, the good old stuff. But we're constantly monitoring, and where we are creating custom solutions for our pharmacies, because it's one aspect of what we offer, we're constantly monitoring that. And so we also take feedback from the pharmacies. So if they let us know, hey, you're way too low on this for me, because even though we've got a lot of acquisition cost data, we're looking at NADAC and we're pricing off of that. We're monitoring. We're also watching what's happening on the reject rates. So if we see that rejects go too high in a category, we'll take a look at that drug. But as I said, we also then take feedback. So, on our website, we, just like actually any PBM, we have kind of, it's not a MAC appeal, but it's basically the equivalent of for us. And we just say, hey, give us feedback, and they'll send us, the drug, the NDC, the quantity, and then, here's what we need you to go take a look at.
So this isn't a one size fits all solutions. You're working with every pharmacy.
Absolutely not. Right.
To price perfectly in that sweet spot for them.
Right.
Yeah, when we talk about our different solutions, you'll be able to see that in a little bit. How we have some different options that are preset, but then our bread and butter is in our custom solutions for each store. And how we can easily customize by NPI.
That's fantastic. Someone's asking, is the price dynamic? Is the pricing dynamic, and how often do the prices change?
Pricing is not. I don't believe dynamic in the way that person is asking it. But let me speak to this. So in the case of our customized solution, what we would do is we ask a pharmacy to work with us. And by the way, we also, as a, in the early start of that dialogue, we offer them a confidentiality agreement. So we don't take your data, we just want to assure the pharmacies we're not doing anything with your data other than to use it for analytics to be able to support setting your pricing. But if we're fortunate enough and we have, a number of pharmacies that have chosen to work with us and go down this path, who are extremely happy, and they turn over a data file. We look for I believe 2 months minimum de-identified of your cache data. We analyze that. And then from that, what we can do then is we see where you're at, and we establish pricing for you that kind of meets you, if you will, where that pharmacy is today. Because what's the first and primary goal? The first and primary goal is we want to start to, and we will correct a little bit in that first round. But initially, what we don't want to do, we want to create minimal disruption, right? Because we've told you that we think it's really important to protect that patient relationship. It's also important not to be administratively disruptive to your store, right? So the last thing we want to do is make some of those conversations more complicated if they've already been complicated. And then we layer in that price. And then over time, I don't believe that we've ever had a store where we haven't actually systematically adjusted up. And so that's why for our custom solution, what we say is, initially we lay in after about 1 month, on average, you'll see a 5 to 8% pickup in profitability. After about 9 months, you'll see a 15 to 25% pickup. That has been the experience with our customer base so far.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so in that sense, for the custom solution, it is dynamic. And then from there on out, we're constantly monitoring what's happening. We're taking feedback. We're providing analytics. We're providing reporting. We really want to provide a lot of value for that $1.10. And really, honestly, we came in with a checklist of all the things we wanted to fix in the way cash was working. And I'm really proud to say this team we have really, I think we've done it. I think that we have really addressed everything that we thought was broken.
So in that custom solution that Diana was talking about, they were asking about if the pricing was dynamic, and it kind of depends on where you start at as to how long it takes you to optimize and become stable. But as we adjust those prices, we're very cognizant of the patients as well. So, when you personally go in and buy a product, you don't want it to jump every time you go into that store. So, those prices will jump every 3 to 4 months, because we, know people get 90-day supply too. So you don't have a big jump every time they come in. And it's usually a $2 or below increase that has shown in market that people, don't notice, that low of a price increase.
And or in some cases smaller, but we
Right.
play with what we believe are imperceptibly small changes in price. Consumers, it differs by market. There's a great deal of competition in some marketplaces. I've heard pharmacies say, you'd be surprised, I get shopped for $1. That's probably true. We're probably not going to be able to address every single situation, but by and large, data shows patients don't move for $2 increments. And they certainly don't move when the entire family has a relationship with that independent. Right. They've had longstanding relationship and they've been going there for years. So from some of the, just learning from, some of our more skeptical customers and prospects, they've asked this question, well, where is this margin growth coming from? Because I don't really believe that it's there. And it comes from 2 things. One is from the lower admin fee, right? That's hopefully obvious. But I mean, if you're paying, $2+ admin fee and, you only started, $1.10 with us, then you have whatever that pickup is, right? And then on top of that, then the stabilization, rationalization, and the systematic increase of your overall prices in cash then produces the rest of the pickup.
That's fantastic. So Diane, how do we get started? Tell me what happens when we start with GoMango.
Oh my God, did I just pay you for that setup? That was so good.
You were reading my mind.
Knew what was coming next.
There's 2 ways to start.
Yes. Yes.
So we set up, because again, our goal, right, was to address every problem we saw in industry. And we actually came to market with the second solution, the one that says custom plan. But what we found was that a lot of pharmacies were kind of skeptical, and they're like, I don't even know you. I know you're going to sign a CA with me, a confidentiality agreement, and commit to me all sorts, but I still don't know you and I don't trust you. So I don't know if I want to share my data with you. I want to try it though. So how do I try it? So that's why we created the, easy start today. So these codes are out there. When we were at your conference, we were handing out sheets left and right to try to encourage pharmacies, and we actually did get I think a few. We walked away. I don't remember the count, but sure. and they started using. And in here, what we do, just to really give the pharmacies, a toolkit that works day one is, look, if you want to know where we think generally the market is, you can start with Mango 1. And if you feel like you could push higher, you could go to Mango 2. And depending upon if you're, in a demographic where you think it's sustainable or there's certain drugs, then you can go to Mango 3. This is an easy way for you to use our solution and make it work in your stores the way it needs to. So we would never, we want to give the owners and managers the flexibility to say, hey guys, for the Smithville store, we're going to price everything at Mango 2, and for our other store, 2 towns over, I'm going to stick with Mango 1. Or they could instruct them, on all controls, you're going to go with Mango 2, and then on, right? Doug, is that fair? There's all the different ways.
It is, but within each of those, there are some price hikes for C2s and then C3, 4s, and 5s. So we have that built into each of those levels of pricing.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want to say, right, that so there are drug of class differentials in pricing, and there's all sorts of logic that sits in our price tables. Right, because you're talking about, at least 180,000 NDCs, right, that have to be priced across the country at any given point in time. But what I'm just trying to illustrate is, start today. Our easy start is it's set up to allow a store and the manager of that store to set a rule any way they want. If they want to just pick one price list, if they want to say for certain classes of drugs, go with another. Okay, so that's the easy way. Okay. The slightly harder requires overall about an hour of your time. That a store will, like I said, we will share a confidentiality agreement, and then we give them a data template, and we ask them to send us about 2 to 3 months of data. If they're willing to send us more, we've had stores send us a year's worth of data. Your price list is only going to be better the more data we get. Okay. Then it takes about a week, and we establish a customized price list based upon your experience, and then we turn over the set of codes that have established that specific store's price list. And here is another aspect, that we can barely even get to this most of the time, but what we're very proud of is the level of customization. So if an owner has 6, 7 stores and they send us the data on all those stores, we will analyze and we will tell you what price lists are, we can set up custom price lists for each of the 6 or 7 stores.
That's fantastic.
Or we can set up one price list, so we can take input from them as to how they want to operate.
That's fantastic. So someone was saying we all have different cost of goods. Where do you set your cost from? NADAC?
So that's where in the custom plan, we're taking your data. We're learning from you because we're drawing it from your file. And we're also looking at where you're pricing today. And so, but in our sort of easier start today program, yes, we've been in operations now for close to 3 years. We've been ingesting data. We also monitor the market, but we've been taking NADAC data. We appreciate the deficiencies of NADAC. That's a key thing, by the way, but nobody, that we could all probably, one of the best things, I haven't gotten around to trying to call my congressperson, but one of the things they could do is increase the survey numbers on NADAC and increase so that the accuracy was there. But yeah, we're taking data from the stores and we're monitoring and using NADAC and any other source that we're able to get acquisition data from. We will augment our databases with it.
2 questions came in. I think you've covered both of them, but is this a cash discount pricing card? No, it's not. And where does the reimbursement come from? So
there's no reimbursement. This is not insurance. If I haven't splashed that on here somewhere loud and clear, let me just say verbally, this is not insurance. This is for cash. So this is very much of a traditional cash exchange where the patient is basically paying the entire copay. And then by virtue of the fact that the claim was processed by us, you would incur a $1.10 fee. And so when we don't see a reversal, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
It was what kind of reporting? So let's take what I've seen as a coach is that, let's say you give it to, you have multiple stores and you have people in the store would override pricing. Do you have reports that show if a price has been overridden? Someone doesn't like the price that Mango 1, 2, or 3 puts out?
What you'll see is a reversal rate. And so when a claim is processed, we would send back a price to, charge at the point of sale. If that rate is if that claim is reversed, you will see that in the monthly reporting.
Okay.
Of the claims that have been reversed.
And the reporting itself, would it show you that, like at this point in time, there was a change? So would it be once a month reporting, once a week? How often? What would you recommend the reporting be given to the pharmacist?
We are so we're in the process of actually setting our monthly reporting. We haven't actually developed a cadence. I think where we're probably going to land is at least quarterly, but probably monthly. And it's really actually something we want feedback from the stores, because the reality is actually too much, right? Like, I think all of us know this now, right? Because we get these marketing emails and we have to click through and say, you're sending me too many emails. I mean, too much information doesn't help, right, Mike? So we're trying to, we'd love any feedback on that. But we're very excited. We're about ready to, we're probably within the next month or so, we'll be actually launching our full reporting package on a regular basis to all of our customers. And we'll also be able to share that out. And one of the things that we are working on is an ability to actually show stores where they're pricing relative to the market.
Yeah, like a community thing would be awesome.
Yeah, and we don't believe that anybody else is doing this. We think it's going to be very, very powerful, and we're very excited about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just to I think we've kind of hit on this, but this is just more about that custom solution.
I have a few more questions, Diane.
Yeah.
Is this only available for commercial RXs versus compounds?
That is a great question. Doug's laughing because
I'm laughing because we just
came away. Yeah, we were just at IdeaShare, and we had a lot of conversations with about compound pricing. We are in the process of looking at actually creating standardized compound pricing also. By the way, I should add, we also price OTCs. We offer a lot of we've really tried to pack this $1.10 with a lot of value. And we also have the ability to provide a price lookup tool if the store wants it. So we would provide a link, and then they would be able to post it in their website. We don't set up websites, but we're happy to provide a link if that's something that they want.
Can you see Mango 1, 2, and 3 pricing before choosing to send a claim?
With that price lookup tool, you can.
Okay.
See that pricing. The one thing we haven't said too is that there's no minimum. It's not a program that you have to sign up for. So there's no monthly requirement. The more claims that you shoot through us, probably the better, your pricing is going to be, but there's no minimum or maximum for that.
That's fantastic.
You have to sign up for.
Say that.
Doug, I want to back up on what you said. I don't think we don't publish, so we don't host a website, so we won't publish Mango 1, 2, or 3. If they have a custom setup, we will provide that.
So if you're looking for a particular margin, you would help set up. I want 15% margin in Mango 1, 20% margin in Mango 2, 35% margin in Mango 3. Would that help you working?
No, those are preset price lists. Based on what's going on, kind of in the market. The custom is where you get to, more.
The custom is we're setting the price list up that's really optimal for the store.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And knowing that we're all independent pharmacists, and so we're independent for a reason. We like to kind of do things the way we want to do sometimes. So we do definitely take feedback in when we're setting those custom prices for you.
So Heather, I want to go back. I want to make sure, or whoever asked the question about the for the store, can they see the price ahead of time? Unfortunately, in Mango 1, 2, and 3, they would have to process the claim. They can reverse the claim. I can't. So we only charge on net fees. So they wouldn't incur a fee with us if they check those prices. But they will incur their switch fees. So that I can't necessarily prevent and do anything about. One of the things I will also say is we've had stores who've taken our codes and then they've run, like 3 claims. And I appreciate that the switch fees can be onerous. But the reality is you can't appreciate what the pricing is doing across your entire book of cash unless you run probably close to 200 claims. So that's so there is a commitment. So it's not, I guess it's not fair to say it doesn't cost them anything. There's no setup with us. We won't charge you if you reverse. And also, we really encourage, minimally, we would not be charging pharmacies for at least 30 days. I think that when we were at your conference, our commitment to you guys was, remind me, Doug, if you remember.
So Doug,
did we offer 90? I think we offered.
It was 90 days for free.
90 days. We would let any Diversify pharmacy use our system for no claims fees.
So the one fee is $1.10. Is that's correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just $1.10, no matter if you use Mango 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
Okay.
Or if you use the custom plan, which by the way, just on the outset of the custom plan, the analytics that you're getting to learn what's happening in your cash, any consultant would charge you. You guys can verify this for me, but any consultant would probably charge you at least $1,000 for what we're going to give you. So.
Okay. I caused some confusion with the other question, so I just wanted to
yeah, sorry.
No, you're right.
I think it was my fault. Okay, one more question. Is there a way cash pricing access for cost sharing programs for pharmacies?
Sorry, give it to me again.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question either.
Damar, if I'm saying this wrong, let me know. But is there a way cash pricing access for cost sharing programs for pharmacies?
So
What
I
is
would,
what is
I
a
think
cost sharing program?
So are we talking about those commercial claims that are switched over to a discount card on the back end, maybe?
he's typing. 1 second.
sorry, Demar, we're working on it.
No, I've recently seen some claims that, you know, you'll send a commercial claim and it comes back and, you know, ask you to use a discounted card rate.
Hmm.
Let me see.
Yes, Demar.
Damar, do you want to clarify your question? Oh,
Yes. So what it is that there's a new form of insurance that's out there. It's called cost sharing. And it's a program out there that is essentially cash based, but um, the individual it's usually set up for individuals or small companies, and the member usually is paying for their prescriptions. They get some discount off of it, but for the most part, they're paying the majority of it. So it's cash-based pricing. And so now, um, if a person's a member and let's say they're in Seattle, they can look and see what the pricing is for CVS, for um, a nice apothecary, and then make a decision which place that they're going to go for to buy the prescription. And they're buying it totally based on cost. So I don't know if there's a way for like a member of Mango to be able to have their pricing show up, whether it's tier one or tier three, to those outside programs.
Okay. I mean, I can tell you right now, we're not participating in any of those. If there is a network that they have, if they wanted, I'm thinking on the fly. I mean, if we were handling your pricing and they wanted to include us in their network, I guess we could on your behalf, we could provide that pricing to them, and then they would put it into their price lookup table, into their price lookup tool.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And it allows
Yeah.
them to capture business to come into their pharmacy.
Yeah.
And hopefully,
Yeah.
after they've interacted with them, they'll see the value of coming to that particular pharmacy.
Yeah. And if you, more than anything, if you want to be able to demonstrate, to that, that community, and those patients of that program, that this pharmacy is part of this, that's what you're going to get. But I definitely want to be clear that GoMango's goal and the way that we work is not to be the lowest price. So like if we were on that list, if you were on when I showed that list of that one random, discount card that I grabbed, and the sort of irrationality of the ranges from $7 to, I don't even remember, $25 for a drug that's clearly probably at least $21, $22. We're not going to be the lowest. Mango's not going to be, because it's just, we don't believe it's sustainable. We don't believe it's right. And it's not, it's just, what's happening in the market is a byproduct of something that's highly irrational. So we're not going to support that. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for the pharmacy, but mechanically, Damar, we could do it. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just a matter, and I'm a coach, so I work with pharmacies, and there are a number of pharmacies that are considering going to cash only pricing. And so from that standpoint, this is a good option. But, and as a part of that, being able to, have a way for them, customers that want to stay with that pharmacy to be able to see, what are we potentially looking for,
Yeah.
without necessarily having to submit a claim and then reverse the claim.
Yep. We're completely open to that, to supporting the cash only solutions. Actually, I had a very in-depth conversation with one of the Diversify pharmacies about it. They were just too early stage, but you know that we'd love to talk to you about it. You know how to reach me. You can reach out. We could have a side conversation about how to create something. I think we are very well equipped to help with that. If you have, you know, the pharmacies that want to use it, to want to use our solution and have their price list set up and managed by us.
Yeah. 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 Because that's the biggest problem is that they're not pricing to be sustainable or profitable. And it doesn't matter whether it's compound or commercial product.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, what is going to help there is, as you know, you have the sort of, you know, early, I mean, you could probably speak to this 100 times better than me, but right, you have the early mover disadvantage right now. There's just aren't enough cash pharmacies out there. There's not enough precedent for it. And so one of the things, you know, if you have a large number of them and we can work with them, I mean, to be able to have a larger group to work with and set prices is probably going to be helpful.
Yeah.
To be able to find, you know, a more rational level of sustainable pricing.
Yeah. No, that would be great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Well, our time is almost up. Thank you all for sticking around and being a part of the GoMango conversation. Diane, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and hear all the awesomeness out of your brain. In the recording notes, the record will go out tomorrow. In the recording notes, I will put in the special 90 days no processing fees for DiversifyRx folks. And we will also give you all the ways to contact Diana and Gary, and just getting to know more of GoMango.com. I saw on your slide, Diana will do, or the company, I shouldn't just throw you under the bus, Diana, but you guys will do 15-minute calls to see if it's worth it for you or not. So you can,
yes.
So,
sure.
So
yep. Reach out to us. We're happy to jump on, and you know, we know this is hard stuff. We know you're juggling a lot of stuff. We try to talk. We'll talk to you when you're in the timetable that works for you and answer your questions. Yeah. And it would be great if stores would please identify yourself, that you learned about us through DiversifyRx.
Yep.
We know that, and we can honor the discount. Yeah, and we appreciate that. And I will also we just had some editing we had to do to it, but I'll provide you a sales sheet that you can attach.
That will be fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a great week. Go buy your summit tickets. Go buy your summit tickets, and you can meet other extraordinary exhibitors like Diana and Doug. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Everybody have a great rest of your day. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Mike.